It's Rose vibes and it's the Premier League recap. Matchday 1, first of many, obviously. It was a very entertaining weekend of football, as we all see. Different teams sort of getting beat where they shouldn't have got beat. Some surprises from certain teams, and obviously, and everything. So let's just jump right in. So, we had Friday, August the 5th, Arsenal, or sorry, Palace versus Arsenal at Selhurst Park. I want to sort of pick out a standout player from this match. And let's be honest, William Saliba, he really took the biscuit, didn't he? I mean, he absolutely has cemented his place in this Arsenal team. He was everywhere this match. He was absolutely closing people down, sort of mopping up, where mistakes were made. Maybe Ben White was getting beat, or even a midfielder like Partey or Xhaka. Saliba was there every time, and he really was at the outstanding sort of star in this match. There's a couple of things we can learn from this match. I mean, from Palace's point of view, Vieira. I think what Vieira can take away from this match is that they were able to keep possession of the ball and move Arsenal around in different places. But what they need is more firepower. They need more midfielders and probably more effective attackers, or maybe just better midfielders to aid the attackers that they have right now. Um, that's probably what Palace could take away from that. So the transfer window is still open. They can still do something with that. Arsenal now, what they can learn, what we've learned from them is that yes, we have this amazing, incredible attacking sort of team now, but there were moments in the match, large portions of the match actually, where Arsenal were outpossessed, and like I said, better teams are gonna take advantage of this kind of possession. So the next matches for these teams respectively is Arsenal versus Leicester. That's going to be at Emirates, and we've got Liverpool Palace at Anfield. Anfield. So Saturday at Craven Cottage, Fulham versus Liverpool. Standout player for this match is definitely Mitrovic. I mean, he was head and shoulders above everyone else, wasn't he? I didn't expect him to have the mobility that he did, but how dare I? 43 goal scoring, machine in the championship, come to the Premiership, and not only did he do it in the Prem, but he did it against a top side like Liverpool, and was able to sort of throw Van Dijk off for the entire match. Score 2 goals, he's definitely stand out. What we can learn from Fulham is that they're gonna try to punch above their weight, aren't they? Marco Silva is not afraid to press teams hard as hell. He's not afraid to go at teams with the attacking, players that he has, and also a very smart midfield too. What we can learn from Liverpool is that we know they're still strong. We all know that. But what I think they need to do is push on. They need to push on and go from strength to strength now. They've lost Mane. They have brought in some reinforcement, but they can sort of look to strengthen even more now, and try to establish some sort of consistency as they go along, because it was draws like this from last season that stopped them from winning the Premier League, or catching City in an adequate way. So next matches for them, Fulham go to Wolves, and Liverpool are at home to Palace. Look at the next match, Bournemouth Villa. This was an interesting one. A standout player here for me is Kiefer Moore. I was watching some highlights from Bournemouth from last season in the Championship, and this guy just seems to just pop up with some good and consistent goals. He's like a very good centre forward, tall, relatively young too. And he was sort of in Dominic Solanke's shadow a little bit, last season, but he still scored a decent amount of goals. And for him to come up with the second goal is just invaluable for Bournemouth in this match. Solanke wasn't able to score, Kiefer Moore was, and he just furthermore sort of giving Scott Parker, headaches. Play these two forwards up top. Kiefer Moore still wants to be in there. And so what we can learn from, let's start with Bournemouth, is that they can go toe to toe with these Premier League teams. Set up under Scotty Parker, with sort of their style of play. They're willing to go all out with these Premier League teams, and that's really refreshing to see. From Aston Villa's standpoint, just shows that they still have issues. I mean, Steven Gerrard's coming there. He looked very promising. They made a host of signings, didn't they? You know, Coutinho, Diego Carlos. They just sold Chukwuemeka to Chelsea. But I think this will be disappointing for them because they actually do have a good team on paper. Like, it's a very, very solid team with some very good players who have good experience. But it's a little bit worrying. It's a little bit worrying for Aston Villa at this point, and they'll be looking to improve for sure. So if we move on to the next match, Leeds and Wolves. This was an interesting one, a close one for me. You know, in terms of like predicting it before the match. If we look at a standout player here, for me, I don't think a lot of people may agree with me, but I'm gonna say Brendan Aronson. I mean, you know, obviously, you know, the influence of Jesse Marsch being an American coach. He's gone out and looked for these American prospects, Aronson, Tyler Adams from Leipzig, and Aronson. You know, this is just going off from the highlights. I really thought he ran around well. You know, he sort of got himself about the pitch very well, got some shots off, and he was, you know, involved in the second goal. It looked like he scored it, but it was in fact an own goal. But just the fact that he was there and ready and ambitious to put that goal in the back of the net means a lot. So for me, he is the standout, especially coming to a new team, a new league, and just trying to assert himself right away. What we can learn, what we can learn from Leeds, is that, you know, we can't write them off. I think a lot of people sort of had Leeds in their relegation sort of bottom three, but you know what? Leeds are strengthened by, you know, Patrick Bamford being fit again now, and these new signings and everything, and everyone gelling together. It's a big statement beating Wolves, and that leads me on to Wolves now. Wolves have a lot of issues. They need to change things up. They've lost a lot of players. Adama Traore, you know, Jimenez needs to get back in the team, and it sort of seems like they're not playing like Wolves. They're playing like puppies, you know, and it's just like they've lost that sort of fiery, you know, style of play that they used to play with, and they need to get that back. So that's that for them. You know, next up for Leeds is they're going to go to Southampton, and for Wolves they're going to be at home for Fulham. That's going to be a good match. So next is Nottingham Forest. Oh, sorry, Newcastle, Nottingham Forest. And a standout player for me here. Again, I didn't watch these matches, so I'm just going off of highlights. But for me, Fabian Schär. I mean, what a goal! What a goal from sort of the corner of the 18-yard box, and it's just an absolutely ridiculous goal. And he was, you know, sort of very solid in defense as well. Egos stand out for me for sure, for sure. What we can sort of learn from Newcastle is that they've come into the season with a lot of optimism. Obviously, they have a lot of money now, right? So, and they've bought some very good players. They've been smart about it. You know, Guimaraes, you know, Chris Wood up top. You know, and also they'll be galvanized by Callum Wilson up top. He was able to get a goal, very nice goal too. So, you know, I think the Newcastle project has begun, and it's just gonna, it's sort of like a, you know, a steamroller now. It's just gonna keep picking up momentum. That's really how I look at Newcastle. Nottingham Forest. It's going to be a tough one. I kind of have them in my relegation sights, man. I mean, Nottingham, first of all, I'm not even familiar with most of their players. You know, the only acquisitions I can even think of is Jesse Lingard. I know they have two pretty good forwards up top, you know, and then they did buy a centre back from Mainz. But for me, I think it's going to be worrying for Nottingham. I mean, I don't see any sort of firepower in their team, and they're gonna have to sort of find a way to stay in the Premier League at this point. It's gonna be interesting for them. So next matches, Newcastle go to Brighton, and West Ham go to Nottingham Forest. Let's move on to Tottenham Southampton. A standout player here for sure at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is Kulusevski. Kulusevski he's gone from strength to strength. First of all, such a smart signing by Conte. You know, he's played under Conte, right? Kulusevski, I think, at Juventus. So and he knows he can get in his ear. He knows he can get in Kulusevski's ear. And Kulusevski's gone from here to here. I mean, he's just like a stocky, sort of built right winger, isn't he? And he's just got a sweet left foot. For me, he scored an incredible goal this match. He deserves standout. What we can learn from Tottenham is that, man, they are a powerful team. They've made some very good signings. Obviously, they Conte builds from the back up, with that defensive style, and they're gonna be they're gonna be punching teams. And this was actually the prediction I got correctly. 4-1. They slapped Southampton around. So look out for Tottenham. Unfortunately, as a Gooner, but it is what it is. Southampton, this just goes to show the issues that they have. Hassan Hurtel tried three at the back this time, and does it really suit them? In this match, obviously it didn't, and he has a lot of things to figure out. I think he's a great manager. I just think he needs to get the right players in to sort of play to his style of football. And it really it's a shame to see his side get beat by this much, but it is what it is. That's the business of it. That's the nature of it. So Tottenham go to Chelsea next week, and Southampton go to Leeds, or Leeds go to Southampton for next week. Moving on to Everton, Chelsea at Goodison Park. Standout player for me. This is a weird one, but I'm gonna go with Kante. Kante was everywhere in the pitch, and just hearing from people that did actually watch the match, he was absolutely everywhere. You could see a little bit in the highlights. Like, the man doesn't stop. He's an absolute engine. What we can learn from Chelsea is that they look like they need some help in the attacking third. Losing Lukaku and sort of, there's kind of a punch to the gut, isn't it? They didn't play to his strengths. Chelsea is a weird team in some sorts, because they play with these false nines, and then they play with such a they're a system team, aren't they? Like, they have it's Tuchel's way or the highway, and so I feel like they need a couple more signings to really take them into Premier League winning / even Champions League territory. Everton were as tough as they could be in this match. They need a forward. They need to sign a forward and get rid of a couple players. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is injured right now, and that's a big problem for them. They played with a false nine. They played with what's his name, Anthony Gordon up top, and so that's an issue. And they really need to sign someone, and they need to establish some kind of consistency, because they have the players that can, they can play well in this league. Lampard needs to figure something out, and so Everton go to Villa next week. Tottenham go to Chelsea next week. Brentford. At the King Power. For me, a standout player is Dewsbury Hall. I mean, he has gone from strength to strength after being sort of put into the side. I believe it was halfway through last season, something like that. I mean, he is immense. He's a tidy player. He's a player that knows what's around him as a midfielder. He's very smart. He goes forward well. He sprays very good passes, but not only that, he has an eye for goal, and he's starting to become something of a he only scores worldies kind of player, And what did he do in this match? He scored a worldie. I mean, it was just such a well hit strike at the ball, with a lot of power and accuracy, and those aren't easy to hit, and it just shows that he's putting in the work behind the scenes, and he's reaping what he's sowing. Things to learn. I mean, Leicester, same old Leicester, isn't it? Conceding 2 goals like that after being 2 up, and they need to figure that out. Brendan Rodgers needs to figure that out, because I think it's been a couple seasons now where they've actually been pretty high up the Premier League table, and Brendan Rodgers, I don't know what happens with his sides, but they capitulate. And then they go further down the table, 4th, 5th, 6th. They need to figure this out. Brentford, they're weakened by Ericsson, the sale of Ericsson. For them, I think we can see that they're still there. They're still sort of saying that we're still here. We survived last year in the Premier League. We can do it again, and we're perfectly capable of that, and that's fine. And that's really impressive to see. Ivan Toney was really good too. His goal was really good in this match. So um, I think that's really the main thing we can take away from Brentford. Um, so Arsenal go to Leicester. Sorry, Leicester go to Arsenal next week, and United go to Brentford. Moving on, Man United, Brighton, and Hove. My goodness, I mean, I thought United were gonna win. Honestly, under Ten Hag, they looked okay in pre-season. I thought this was gonna be curtains for Brighton and Hove, but it turns out that Brighton turned United over, flipped them over like a pancake, like a fried egg. It was crazy. It was ridiculous. Standout player for me in this match, first and foremost, has got to be Pascal Gross. The ease in which he scored these two goals was ridiculous. And he just walked away. His celebration, he was just so calm. He's probably thinking in his head, this is happening? Wow. Okay, cool. You know what I mean? So for me, he was a standout. And there were other players of Bournemouth or Brighton and Hove that impressed me very much. If we look at what we can learn from United, first and foremost, is that their problems are deeper than just signing a new manager and just signing maybe one or two or even one brilliant player like De Jong. They have multiple issues with different players. Some players, in my opinion, they need to get out of the club. They're just not. Without going into detail, they're not going to cut it. What we can learn from Brighton and Hove is that they're just going from strength to strength. After a ninth place finish last season, um, Brighton and Hove, the players are buying into Graham Potter's philosophy. I think this is their fourth season in the Premier League now, and they're just going from strength to strength, even having lost two of their best players for years. You know, they're still punching way above their weight. So congratulations to them. Moving on to West Ham City. Standout player for me, obviously, is the ridiculous, powerful juggernaut and Thor-like character that is Haaland. I mean, he absolutely emasculated and destroyed West Ham with his movement, with his typical movement that he's becoming more and more known for, has been known for. I mean, he was immense this match, absolutely immense. What we can learn from West Ham is that they need to strengthen their team. They need to strengthen. I think that they still play some good football. I think they still have something to prove after getting to, I believe it was the semi-final of the Europa League last season. So they're there, and they did come up against a ridiculously strong Man City side, and they also have a lot of injuries too. So I think West Ham will be fine. I think they'll be fine. City, they just strengthened their juggernaut, haven't they? I mean, they were already immense, and now they just added. It's like you have King Kong and you add Godzilla to the lineup. It's ridiculous. So for me, they're clear favorites to win the Premier League. So we have for them, um, Nottingham Forest goes to West Ham, and City will host Bournemouth for the next match. That is the Premier League recap for Matchday 1. I've been Ruse Vibes, and I'm out.